Come back to the version control GitHub Learning Unit. In part 3, we will discuss using Git in GitHub. As we saw in part 1, Git is an open source distributed version control system designed for speed and efficiency. In this part, we will look briefly at the different ways of working with Git and how to set up some global parameters before explaining a selection of Git commands. We will touch on using the RSA key. You may remember this from part 2, present the most used Git commands, and finish with the lab exercise. We will be using the Git command line interface, but feel free to choose your preferable solution. GUIs, editor extension, etc. You will find a list of graphical user interface by following the link git-scm.com/downloads/GUIs. In this slide, we show how to set up some global parameters for Git on your computer. To set up your name, use git commit --global user.name and your name. To set your email, use git config --global user.email and your email. In the following slides, we will show the Git commands for creating a new repository and adding files, committing and resetting changes, branching and merging, inspecting the Git logs, including creating a graphical representation, cloning, pulling, and updating a repository, and adding and removing a file. In this slide, we show the commands for creating a new repository in GitHub via Git and adding files. To create a new repository, you need to execute the following commands: git init, git add, and git status. Use the links provided to read in more depth about the git commands. In this slide, we show the commands for committing the created repository and resetting the changes in the repository. To commit the created repository, you need to execute the following commands: git add star for the files and git commit -c and the comment, of course, which is test. To reset the current head of the repository to the specific state in time, you need to execute the git reset command. The subcommands related to git reset are shown in the slide. Head might be considered the current branch. The head revision is updated to point to the tip of the new branch when using git checkout to switch branches. You can determine where head points by running cat.git/head, which refers to heads and master. Head can refer to a revision not attached to a branch name, not as a disconnected head. Again, you can use the links provided to read in more depth about the git commands. In this slide, we show branching and merging using git commands in GitHub. To list all branches, the git branch command is used. For creating a new branch from an existing repository, the git branch and the name of the new branch command is used. If the user wants to check out a branch, the git checkout command can be used. The git merge command can be used for merging our branch with other branches. And finally, the git push origin master command can be used to push the changes back to the master repository. In this slide, we show the commands for inspecting the git log and checking the logs. The git log options are the following: --graph creates a text-based graphical representation of the commit history on the output's left-hand side. --decorate displays the ref names of any displayed commits. --abref-commit, instead of displaying the entire 40-byte hexadecimal commit object name, displays a prefix that uniquely identifies the object. --all assume that all of the refs in ref slash and head are listed on the command line as commit. Dash dash pretty equals one line. Extra information taken from the ref log is prepended to the commit message on the same line. The image in the slide shows the output from the git log -- graph command. Continuing with the inspection commands, this slide shows how to generate text-based and graphical representation of all the branches, commits, and tags with a git command. Both commands display the same results, a representation of all the branches, commits, and tags. In this slide, we show the git commands for cloning a repository with git clone, pulling a repository with git pull, and updating a repository, For the repository update, a user must do the following: git commit -am something added, and git push origin to push the changes to the repository. Note that the user can make git ignore specific files by listing them in the file called .gitignore. In this slide, the last in the sequence showing selected git commands, we show the commands for adding a file or removing a file from a repository. To add a file, use the commands git add and git commit. To remove a file, use the commands git rm, git commit, and git push origin. Note that if conflicts exist, then the git commit -am command can be used to resolve conflicts. A git conflict happens when two independent branches make changes to the same line in a file, or when a file is destroyed in one branch but updated in another. Destroy will mean removed. Conflicts are likely to arise when working in a team setting. For information about using the RSA key, see Part 2, Slides 5 and 6 on local user authentication with SSH keys. This slide lists the most used Git commands. A list of basic Git commands can be found in the GitLab Learning at eacademy.gian.org Moodle course U for ID 144 and section 12. We will end this part with a lab exercise that combines many of the commands we have looked at throughout the learning unit. The first task is to add a file to Git repository. Start by cloning the repository to which you want to add the file. Then check out, create the main branch. Next, check the status of the branch. Then add the new file, network configuration.txt, to the repository. Check the repository status again, then commit the changes to the branch, and finally inspect the log of the Git. When you change the network configuration.txt file to update the file in the repository, you must check the status of the repository. Show the difference with the head, and then commit the updated changes of files to the repository. We will now add a new folder to a Git repository. To start with, create a new folder Endre, add two text configuration files to it, and then add the folder to the staged files. In this way, you can add multiple files to the repository using the git add folder command. Our final two tasks are to check the previous version and make gitignore certain changes things in the Git folder. When checking the previous version with git diff head -1, we read the update difference of the file network.txt, the previous version. With git checkout head -1 network.txt, we revert the changes to the previous version file. With git checkout head network.txt, we revert the file to the updated version file. To make git ignore specific folders and files and prevent them from being staged, we must create a .git ignore file by adding start.dat and result slash. We are telling git to ignore any file whose name ends in .dat and everything in the results directory. Ignoring files is useful because in some circumstances you place configuration files, files contain passwords and temporary libraries in the development folder that you do not want others to use or access. For following the third and final part of the GitHub Learning Unit, remember that you can reach us at oav@list.gr.org and that you can join any of our sessions on the first Tuesday of every month. Just send us an email and we will send you the connection details. Please remember also to explore our other units, complete the feedback form, and enjoy your training.